What's going on, everyone? Today we're here with Dr. Claudette Morgan-Scott. Now, she is a pastor, which is a great thing to be. You know, pastors are good. And I'm going to tell you why, pastors are great. One of the greatest people that helped us in the black community was a pastor by the name of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So pastors can be a great thing. Definitely, definitely. Sometimes people discount pastors today and think they're all doing wrong. No, not all of them are. So, we definitely talking to Dr. Claudette about, things that she see and a few things she has going on. So, Dr. Claudette, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It is truly a pleasure.
Now, automatically, people will hear your accent. So, can you tell the audience where you're originally from?
I am originally from the UK. I was born in the UK and came to the US in 2000. My parents are originally from the Caribbean islands, but I'm a first generation born British. So I've been here for almost 19 years now.
Okay, so you've been here 19 years. So your parents, they came with you, correct?
No, my father is deceased and my mother is still in the UK. I try and go back at least twice a year to visit with her and do ministry. And when she does visit, she'll come for about 3 months or so. My UK connection is still very, very strong. In fact, I'm heading that way next month. I was there last November, so I do get to go back quite frequently.
Now, do you go to, are you from London, somewhere around there?
Um, I am actually from the middle of the country, a town that you would never have heard of called Wolverhampton, and it is 11 miles north of the city of Birmingham, which is the second largest city. So London's the largest, Birmingham is the second largest. So I'm right outside of Birmingham, right in the middle of the country.
So what is the black population in your city?
The population in Wolverhampton is pretty strong. I would say overall the population of the Black British is probably about 10% or so. In Wolverhampton, it's probably a little bit more than that. It's probably about 20%, but it is a pretty mixed population, very mixed.
Well, I know that a lot of people from the UK that follow our show was contacting us and like, informing us about a lot of deportations they was doing with the Windrush generation
Yes.
people, and I feel that's completely wrong, especially when I research how they got there. Like they literally went to the Caribbean asking our brothers and sisters to come help them because they had a big worker shortage because a lot of the men were killed off during the war. And then you help build their country back up, and now they want to kick the brothers and sisters out.
Right. What's really interesting? That's a really great statement right there. My mother's actually in the Windrush Library for being an activist and helping people get their documentation for immigration together. So it is political. It's very unjust, very unfair. There's a strong history behind all of the Windrush movement. So I'm really thankful that people, your audience is aware of what's going on and sharing with you. And so for me, I come as a pastor, I always call myself a spiritual activist, just really, focusing on justice and fairness, that God is concerned about what's right and doing right, beside people and people groups and cultures. So that's really important to me.
Yes, and a lot of the brothers and sisters, definitely from London, but more so in the area of Brixton, they
Right.
told me that hey Phil, over here it's not like America. I mean, we really dealing with some issues too in the area of like racism, and I
Right.
saw that they try to like trying to erase the Black History Month
Right.
out of the UK, and I'm like, what? Like, could you explain like what's the deal with that?
Okay, you're kind of breaking up a little bit, but I think I got the gist of the question. It, you know, in terms of trying to raise Black history, I think once you dull the minds of a people group, then you lessen their power base. And so, for me, erasing history is all about a lack of identity, and that's what my book really talks about that, in terms of discovering your purpose and what has God called you into the earth realm to do. And there's generational blessings on families, there's generational blessings on people groups. And we've all been called to do something, and if you tell me what I'm not, then I won't know what I am.
Right.
And that's important, that we do know our history, so we know who we are and where we're going and what impact we have.
Well, let me ask you a question. You're a woman of faith. You're a woman that you're a praying woman, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. So globally, we looking at us all as an African diaspora globally. Where do you see us, going? Because I believe a shift has happened, but a shift for the good. But that's just my opinion. Where do you kind of see us going?
I am so excited that you just said that, because I am in absolute agreement. I think we're actually, in that seasonal shift where there is an awakening of identity. There is an awakening of who we are as people group, and understanding not just our wealth in terms of financial resource, but our wealth in terms of knowledge, our wealth in terms of experience, our wealth in terms of abilities and skills. And so, there's definitely a saying that the world needs to follow the development of Africa, where, whatever's going on with Africa is what is going to go on in the world. And so I think, people, the Black nations or Black groups actually kind of realizing and taking steps towards dominion and ownership, and recognizing that we are a valuable resource.
So your church, is it located here in Texas, or where your church located?
Yes, it's in Texas, in Belton, which is about 45 miles outside of Austin, 45 miles north of Austin.
45 miles north of Austin. Okay,
Right.
so with the African American community, I'm pretty sure you're definitely acclimated, and probably a lot of your members are African American, correct?
Yes, most of the members are African American. We are mixed, however, we do have a mixed group of worshippers, and we're right outside on the backside of Fort Hood, which is the largest military installation. So, the area is very cosmopolitan. It's very mixed.
Okay, now based off of the last question that I asked you about the African diaspora and things changing now in America with African Americans, I mean, or at least I'm assuming most of the history, through our journey here in this land.
Right.
I know you've seen the uptick of a lot of racism that's happened definitely since Donald Trump has been in office. He got the government shut down as of right now. And, what do you like to say, especially with African Americans, where do you kind of see us going out of all this as well, just spiritually? Because, I see like as one group is dealing with more of a judgment issue and we coming more so out of some pain. So, I mean, but what do you kind of see?
That's a very interesting question, Phil. In fact, I sat on a panel on Thursday evening looking at the state of the Black community, and what does that mean for us? I think until we realize that everything the government does, especially the government shutdown, it's really the ultimate is that it affects Black people. It affects particularly single Black women. So for me, the reason why I call myself a spiritual activist is that we need to get on point spiritually, understand what is our destiny, discover what is our purpose, but at the same time, educate people and give people tools and skills to actually take care of themselves, but occupy the places in society that make decision. I call those places the seven mountains of influence. And so, for example, those seven mountains of influence is politics, the government, media, family, business, finance, education, church, religion, arts, entertainment. Because unless we occupy those places, we won't have a voice. And for me, we have to shift from complaining to actually being equipped and sitting on those mountains, sitting around the table with the decision makers and making decisions, setting policies. For me, I always say I can't expect an unbeliever to make righteous policies. I can't expect that. So now it has to be a righteous person that can sit around the table. It's going to be the same for for African Americans. We have to have a seat at the table, but we can't forget where we're coming from, because often we'll sit at the table and forget where we've come from. We forget the struggle. We forget to go back and help our people group.
Right. I mean, with this, government shutdown, and you mentioned earlier a lot of single moms, prior to food stamps and welfare, definitely during the time of segregation, African Americans, they didn't need nothing from the government. We provided for ourselves, we fed ourselves, and we had, multiple children, way more than we have in today. And we'll be okay. And I believe we still will be okay because we know how to make it. But scriptures teach, if you don't work, you don't eat. But I believe that maybe some of that could be good because it get us back to where we was at. Because
Right.
just in business, when someone's controlling everything that you have, like you got to be literally poor to get food stamps. I mean, how would that be a good life, for us as a people?
Right. There is an agenda behind food stamps and welfare. It really is about perpetuating poverty, because you have to be, below a certain level of income to even receive that. And, and at the government's discretion, at any point in time, they can remove it. And so, we have to go back, I know, I sound like a broken record, but we have to go back to being the owners. I think that's what I'm really passionate about. I'm really passionate about us knowing that we're not just being fruitful financially, but we're being fruitful in terms of vision and ideas and multiplying, replenishing, subduing, and having dominion. We have got to get back into our place of authority. That's the main goal for me. Understanding what has God said. Let's go back to the Word. There's a scripture that I really, really love in the book of Proverbs, that the poor is actually a slave to to the lender, and so we want to shift out of that, because this is still modern day slavery. Welfare and food stamps. We are obligated to those that give it to us. And if they choose not to give it to us, then we don't eat. And so for me, we have to now tap into the skills that everyone has and help to develop those skills so they can birth the businesses and take care of themselves, be economic developers. Economic development is critical for the Black community. We have the ability, we've invented so much, and we can continue to do so.
Well, you're right that I believe we are, violating, and the majority of Black people believe in God. They may not all go to church, but the majority of them believe in God. And I believe we are violating some of the, the laws, statutes, and commandments, because you're right. God doesn't want you to be dirt poor. God has given us all the ability to do for self. And that's something I believe in. I know you saying the same thing, to do for self. And be fruitful, multiply, do all the things that you need to do. And also at the same time, when we look to the white government for our daily bread, that's who a lot of Black folks have made their God to. And, when we have people in our community who are being reckless and they say, oh, well, I'll just, get on food stamps. I'll just get on welfare. Oh, because I got this many kids, whatever. We don't take like a personal responsibility on those things because we know, oh, well, they'll bail us out of our problems. And it's kind of screwed up our family structure in a lot of ways.
Wow. Those are some powerful statements right there. Some very powerful statements. And my goodness, and it is, true that, sometimes we can make certain things and certain systems and certain people an idol. And when God has given us the ability to get wealth, He really has, and there's definitely enough wealth in this nation, enough wealth in the earth, for the wealthy to still stay wealthy, and for the rest of us to actually accumulate, and not just wealth for now or for me, but wealth for my generations. We've got to create generational wealth.
Exactly. And like I say, Dr. Claudette, let me tell you something. I tell people that all the time, tease me. They say, maybe you should go in the church. I said, no, I don't think y'all want me to be your pastor. I said, because I'm really too, I said, I believe more in that Turner than anything else. But even like I say, when I feel just like God showed me, and maybe he showed you the same thing, is that this, the evil, doctrine, called white supremacy, it's a doctrine. It's nothing,
That's right.
something that's tangible. And when you fashion yourself with that doctrine of white supremacy, and you say, I'm better than other people due to my color, you have fashioned yourself as a god. That's how you fashioned yourself, and you're treating people as such in society and throughout the world. So the reason why I mentioned earlier about the judgment is that anyone that has fashioned himself as God dealt with the real God. And I believe the judgment time is here.
Well, and I agree that judgment is coming to the house of God, but that's not always necessarily a bad thing. It's a good thing because judgment is really about justice. It's actually readjusting the scales, and I believe that we're in a season where the scales are being readjusted, so that society can be fair, and that people groups do not have to continue to suffer. Now, for me, there has to be a system. There has to be a body of people like myself who's passionate about equipping people. I have a consultancy business, a business consultant, and spiritual mentor and life coach that can help to draw out of people what they don't even know they have in them in terms of their skills, their abilities, their desires, their passion, so that they can gain wealth. The scripture in Ecclesiastes talks about 7, yea, 8 streams of income. All of us have the ability to do more than one thing. And that's important for us to understand that.
Yeah, yes, I definitely agree with you because even most millionaires have at least 7 streams of income. And you look at what's going on with the government shutdown. Most of America live paycheck to paycheck. So that means you're one paycheck away from homelessness. It's just that serious. So we have to get out of this paycheck to paycheck life and get into a life where we need to also put something away for a rainy day. Even the ants of the field
Come on.
understand that.
Yes, that's powerful. Yes, indeed. That's what the book of Proverbs tells us.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, definitely excited to hear, what you're saying and what you believe. Because I do believe that it's our time. It is the time of the believer. We are shaking ourselves. We are declaring that it's a new morning. It's a new day. And, and every new morning, you wake up, you change your garments. We can't feel sorry for ourselves. Let's just get this thing done. Let's get up, let's work because it's going to take work. It's going to take effort. And for me to, accumulate generational wealth means that I'm going to have to make some sacrifices. I can't buy, everything that I want. I'm going to have to put something aside and save it for the next generation. And they do the same thing. They work hard and save for the next generation.
Dr. Claudette, you're right, and I'm the type of person, I believe part of my, at least my job is to be a person that's trying to bring the diaspora together. I've incorporated that into what I'm doing. Some people disagree with me, but I say with that, but I say, you know what? No, I feel we need to come together as one group of people finally, stop being divided on religion and tribe and all the things that we divided on doesn't make sense, and just come together just on what's right. And like I said, I'm in Texas, you're in Texas, and I always tell people, hey, I'm always open to working with anybody, as long as we are pushing toward what's right.
That's good.
Definitely at the end of the day. So, also you mentioned your life coaching and you mentioned your consulting, which is very, very important. But do you also, is it in your life coaching, you offer like counseling sessions? Do you offer that as well?
I absolutely do. It's really funny that saying that we work with different people groups. And God has really called me. I feel like I'm a pastor to the community. Where I am, actually now working with different people that are not Christian, people that have, different belief systems, but the spiritual truth remains the same. All I can give them is me, which is God. The Christ that lives in me. That's what I give them them, that's what they're looking for. So, I counsel the pastors, I counsel with community leaders, counsel, with different cultural groups. And so, whatever the need is, they can come to me or I can go to them. I do organizational training and development, spiritual mentoring and counseling, life coach, shifting people into their place of destiny. Whatever tools they need, that's me. I speak life. I'm passionate about life, but I'm more passionate about seeing people move from one place to the next level. That's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, we all gotta, definitely, grow. It's always a beautiful thing when you come out of something horrible, then you doing something wonderful, helping people, helping, out throughout the world. I always love to see those kind of stories turned around because, we have a lot of people in our community, that's dealing with, suffering from, like you say, poverty. Some people suffering, molestation, rape. Some of these young brothers coming out of jail, they, don't want to go back to no life of crime. Even just living in this country, dealing with discrimination, you always told you're less than. We need a lot of counseling for that as well. A lot of times, black people, we not discussing that a lot of us really need counseling.
Yeah, that is so awesome. My daughter, she's a certified counselor, and she's actually putting on a workshop this year in terms of dealing with the mental health of the community, mental health, so that we can shift. It's really important because we do need that counseling. Because what counseling does, it actually it breaks ideology, it shifts ideology, and it helps to set mind molders. We develop new mind molders, which helps us develop a new mindset about ourselves. Because unless I see myself the way God sees me, I'll never fulfill my full potential. Because your life circumstance is going to tell you that you're not good enough. That's what life is going to do. That life is going to challenge you. Whether you have money or you don't have money, life is challenging. And so having the voice of someone else that is actually echoing the voice of God in your life is going to be really important as we shift into this next season. Because if you're a visionary, if you're carrying something in your belly, if you're birthing something, you need help. Every person that's birthing needs a spiritual midwife. And that's what I do. I help you bring your vision to life.
Right, because where a lot of black people is at, just being honest with you, Dr. Claudette, is that they only going to resonate with someone that's real. Someone going through the rhetoric and all that they just not for that no more. They're expecting tangible. So if we are saying we are about that, they got to see it now. But if you look at the example, you're talking about Christ. He was out there with the people. He was, touching the people. He wasn't in the four walls of the church. He always knew what was going on in the streets. And that's what people expecting these days, because a lot of people in the black community are angry and a lot of them are hurt about what a lot of things happening in the church house.
Right. And that's the truth. Healing is needed in every area of our community, every strata, and the church is not an exception. Sometimes, when we're not building God's kingdom, then it hurts people. It really, really does. Because sometimes, we can be focused on doing our own thing, building our own thing, especially as pastors. But now, that's why I call myself a spiritual activist. Let's get back to the Word of God. What is God saying? And it's really funny you're talking about people need someone that's real, that can be transparent. I wrote a book, Vision from Invisible to Visible, and it will have you sitting at the edge of your seat because it really tells the real story of the journey, how, shifting from a place of abandonment and insecurities to now, being a leader and what God has done. But it talks about my experience on the backside of the mountain, the process, being slaughtered and being killed, but being made over again, shifting. And it's really important that someone is real, because people do need to know the story. Because, people need the tools to help them get out of where they're at. They can know they're in a rut, but to me, you're not dynamic, just tell them they're in a rut. You're dynamic when you tell them how to get out of it.
Right, right, and this and yeah, people definitely, like you said, they just need tangibles, and I get it because, like I said, it's been all that talking. I'm a firm believer talking is great, but let's get to the solutions. You're offering solutions, you're offering life coaching, trying to help people get started, say with changing their life, business, etc., and also doing the spiritual. So you kind of covering all bases, and that's awesome. That's awesome, and we definitely need more of that because whether some people agree with it or not, a lot of African Americans or even people on the continent, a lot of them are Christian, and I know some people are not, but so a lot of us are. So I believe that we need to touch every part of our community, whether you're Christian, if you're in the Nation of Islam, or you the Hebrew Israelite, whatever you believe, you get Kemetic, whatever kind of teaching you believe. I believe we all should come together and understand that we all in this together, and I believe we all have great ideas to help the community.
That's right. There's people that do care in everywhere. I'm working with a particular group right now out of the Nation of Islam, and man, God is doing some phenomenal stuff because people do want to see change in the community. And one of the things that I've learned that we have more in common than we do have different.
Yeah, it's the truth. And really, speaking of Nation of Islam, a lot of Nation of Islam brothers know the Bible better than a lot of Christians do,
Right?
because they're
You know,
required to read it.
That's right, which is really interesting. I was, telling one of my sons, spiritual sons, and he's from Nation of Islam, and I said that I'm comfortable enough in my own skin. I know my word enough to be able to deal with another group, and I think that's the problem. That's why a lot of us don't want to come out of the four walls of the church because we're not comfortable. We don't know our word enough, and this is a season where God is actually challenging us to get into the word, but really walk out the word, because ultimately, God is love. How can the scripture talks about how can the people hear unless the preacher is sent? And we expect people to change, but we won't go with the message. So for me, I'm excited and I'm honored, that God would even choose me in this season to go with the message, that doors will be opened onto me. For me, I'm just an ordinary person, but I love God and I love people, and people know when you love them. People know when you're genuine. They do. And they will open up to you when you are genuine, when you are authentic, when you're the real deal, because people are looking for answers. People do need spiritual guides, that, they do need biblical truth. And someone has to go.
Yes, and Dr. Claudette, we need to, definitely, stay in touch, through, definitely through my, my guy and everything, because I believe, we all just need to come together. Like I say, we both here in Texas, so definitely things that we could possibly do together.
Absolutely.
And so
Part of Texas?
Houston.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Okay. Not far. Just a few miles.
Oh yeah, just
Three.
a few miles up the road. Yeah, just a
Well,
few
I
miles.
would be delighted. I am really passionate about seeing our community shift. It's really funny, I've been pastoring for, almost 17 years and, purchased 32 acres. I intend on building a Christian community with 50 houses. So for me, it was always about making the kingdom of God visible and letting people see their giving, because people need to see their giving. Because that's how you encourage people to give, is that it is visible. So there are pastors out here, that are kingdom, that are trying to make a difference. Building a counseling center, commercial property, etc. So we can do this. We can shift our community. We can be an impact.
Yes, we can. And the thing is, if like you said, people don't have no issues with the church if they do what they're supposed to do. For instance, you say you bought, I think did you buy 32 acres?
Yes,
Okay,
32
so you
acres.
bought 32 acres of land. You either put homes or you put whatever you put there, and then the people say, "Oh man, yeah, hey, Dr. Claudette, whatever you want to say about her, she does exactly what she says she gonna do." And if you're that kind of person, people will rock with you.
Right, right.
As long as you're
I'm on a
tangible.
mission. Yeah, we're working on it. My property developers are from Houston, and my attorney again. So my attorney, she's out of Houston, and you know we're working this. My consultant, they're out of Atlanta, and you know this will happen. We you know we're working it.
That's awesome. I definitely like to, see how that progress goes. That's why I say we definitely need to stay in touch and see what projects we possibly could work together on. Like I said, I'm very interested.
Awesome. And then, you know, if people need to get in touch with me, they can just look me up at ClaudetteMorganscott.com. And they can just look me up, just my full name, just all one word. And, you know, I am here, I'm available to go out and do some teaching, do some seminars, some life coaching, you know, whatever we need to do to shift our community. And my book is available on Amazon, iTunes, and Barnes and Noble.
And also, the book is also available on your website, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
it is.
So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure we'll put the link to her website in the pinned comment, and you can just click that, and you can hit all the references. You can check out her website. Website look pretty good, so make sure you check all that out. And Dr. Claudette, I want to thank you for your time. It was good talking to you. You stay blessed. Take care of your family and everything.
Thank you. You're awesome. I really appreciate you, and thank you for having me on your show.
All right, no problem.
Thank you.